Hello and welcome to Colleague Gwent's Guide to Summarising for GCSE English. Summarising is a skill that you will need for Section A of either the Unit 2 or the Unit 3 exams. Summarising questions have usually been worth around 5 marks on the past papers, so it is important that you practice this skill and make sure you know what to do when faced with this question type. So what does summarising actually mean? In the dictionary, it is defined as a brief statement of the main points of something. So that tells us something about what we're going to have to do with these questions. Basically, the examiner wants to see that you can understand the main points in a text and present them in your own words. This is very important to remember when you come to this question type. Most other questions will want to use quotes in some way or other, but not this one. As a marker, I have often had to give 0 marks to students who have found the right information in the text, but have just copied it down rather than put it into their own words. This is really frustrating to see, so don't let this be you. Okay, so I'm going to work through an example with you to model how to approach this question. Here we have a question asking us to summarise the hazards of taking part in this boat race called the Ocean Race. They have kindly reminded us to use our own words, thank you WJEC, but they don't always do this, so make sure you remember when you see summarise to not copy from the text or use quotes. So the first thing we're going to look at is the question. It wants me to find the hazards of the race, nothing else, so I'm going to focus on that. You could highlight the keywords in the question if it helps you stay on track. But I'm not going to put in any irrelevant information or opinions of my own in it because the point of summarising is to make things shorter, not longer. So I have now highlighted what I think the main hazards are. The question is worth 3 marks, so I know that I'm going to put down at least 3 hazards. As you can see, the first thing I've highlighted is the quote, Bernie Hoskin was thrown overboard. Clearly being thrown overboard is a hazard, so I have highlighted that. The next thing I've highlighted is the outlet pipes for the toilets had not been connected and the stench became unbearable. Clearly, there is a biological hazard here, so I have highlighted this section. In the third paragraph, I've highlighted 2 things that I'm planning on linking together to form my final point. The fact that the crew had no idea where they were is clearly a hazard, but the text also gives a reason for this, the fact that they had no GPS. So I'm going to link these together to form the third point. Now notice how I have not highlighted loads of information in this text. Try to highlight just enough to form your answer, because if you highlight too much, it's going to make it harder to form your summary. It is tricky to know just how much is enough, but this will come with practice. Okay, so here's an example of an answer that gets 0 marks. All the information is there, but the examiner cannot award marks because it's not in their own words. Again, don't let this be you. Here's the ideal answer for this question. You can use bullet points in this question type if it helps you, but don't use them for the longer reading questions. Instead of quoting the text, I've explained it in a slightly different way to show the examiner that I understand what I have read. So instead of using the quote, Bernie Hoskin was thrown overboard, I've just written that there was a possibility that you could get thrown overboard. It's only a slight difference, but one gets you the mark and one doesn't. Now I'd like you to pause the video and try the question below. The text for this can be found in the OneDrive folder that's linked from the Canvas page. Give yourself around 10 minutes to have a go at this question, then play the video again. Okay, so here's what you should have written in your own words. The examiner wanted you to say something along the lines of, teachers have high workloads, the job is demanding, they are stressed out and finding it destructive to the rest of their lives. If you struggled with this question, then now is the time to return to Canvas to go through the sectional summary. If you do need more help to understand this skill, then you can seek help from your English tutor, the skills facilitator on your campus, or from the Learning Centre staff. If you feel confident with your answer, then move on to the final activity. You will find a text on the Hillsborough disaster in the OneDrive folder. For this question, you are looking for 4 things that suggest the police tried to cover up what had happened. Give yourself time to read through the text and highlight any information you think you could use in your answer, and then see if anything you have highlighted can be linked together like it did in the first example. You then need to type up or write your answer, check that you've put it into your own words, and submit it to your tutor for marking, either via a Canvas link, by email, or by bringing it along to your next lesson. Well done, you've completed the podcast on summarising. We look forward to seeing you in the next English lesson.